So guess who decided to drop in and give us a little 411 on what's happening in Ferguson? It's our old friend Ben Stein. You know Ben Stein. He's the out of touch.
Yeah.
He's the out of touch, super rich white guy who likes to talk about stuff he doesn't know anything about. Well, guess what? He did it again.
He's the guy that stole that show, Win Gertrude Stein's Money. Which was kind of lame, but you know what? A show is a show is a show.
What I liked about that is correct. What I like about Ben Stein is that he decided to give us an example of how nice white people are raging racist but pretend not to know it. Okay, so here we go. He was talking about Ferguson, and who's the real victim here? I mean, Michael, he was unarmed. That's what I thought. I thought Michael Brown was unarmed. Ben Stein got a little more inside information.
That it is standard procedure for white policemen to kill unarmed black teenagers. Now, first of all, it isn't standard procedure. It's an extremely rare thing when it happens.
Except that it happens every day somewhere else. We're reporting it. You mean unarmed black kids getting shot? Happens all the time.
He doesn't understand the phrase extremely rare.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't understand that that's extremely rare. And by the way, you can't. There aren't any statistics that you can find. Well, what are the statistics on how many unarmed black kids get shot? They don't keep those statistics. The statistics they keep is if it's a justified shooting or not. And guess what? They're all justified.
And they're also not.
Guess what? So there were all the shootings. So in Houston, for instance, all the shootings they had, there was like 80 black guys shot. Yeah. They were all justified except one. And why was that one not justified? Because there was video of it.
The FBI says that the statistic they're supposed to send statistics to the FBI if you're a local law enforcement.
But they don't keep them.
They don't do it.
They don't.
And the FBI won't investigate it even unless something like this happens.
Right.
So the FBI, like the statistics they keep, are relatively meaningless.
But they don't
because they're highly inaccurate.
Completely.
And by the way, not for nothing, the ATF wanted to keep statistics on gun violence in this country, and Congress stopped them by law.
Stop them from keeping gun statistics. Just so you know, that's another thing the NRA did. So Ben Stein goes on. He says, by the way, it doesn't happen. It's not happening all the time. Black kids getting shot. And who would know better than Ben Stein, who's not a reporter and doesn't know anything about anything.
And who, by the way, was part of the Nixon administration.
Was part of the Nixon. Who would know better?
The Southern Strategy administration.
Who would know better than the guy who worked for the administration who invented and implemented the Southern Strategy? Ben Stein.
Second, the idea of calling this poor young man unarmed when he was 6'4", 300 pounds, full of muscles, apparently, according to what I read in the New York Times, on marijuana, to call him unarmed is like calling Sonny Liston unarmed or Cassius Clay unarmed. I mean, he wasn't unarmed. He was armed with his incredibly strong, scary self.
Yes, he was. Did you not? He wasn't unarmed. I don't know if you noticed, but both of his arms had scary black skin on it.
When Ben Stein said that, was he sitting in a nice, comfortable couch? Because that was some casual racism right there.
Wow.
That was some pretty casual racism. Hey, I don't know if you know, but if you're black, you're not unarmed, especially if you're 300 pounds.
Exactly.
If you're black, you're saying he had his big, scary 300-pound body. So that's a fair fight against that, I guess, would be a Glock. So if you're a 300-pound black guy, which I don't.
So is Ben Stein in trouble now because he revealed exactly
that he's
how
a racist?
A lot of people are perceiving this incident?
No. How could Michael Brown be considered unarmed? He's got 2 arms, you guys. He's got 2 arms. Come on. He's full of big, scary muscles. I like how he doesn't say what he says. He's full of big, scary muscle. You know what he wants to say? He's full of big, scary black skin, you guys. Come on. The guy's totally black. Totally.
You know what?
In the 70s, Ben Stein cowered in fear anytime he saw Shirley Hemphill on TV.
I like how he goes, it's not standard procedure. Really? I didn't know it's standard procedure to consider people of a certain height and certain weight who smoke marijuana to be armed and dangerous. Who's on marijuana? They throw in the marijuana. You know who else is on marijuana? Newt Gingrich. You know who else is on marijuana? Bill Clinton. Barack Obama. Who isn't on marijuana? What? How do you say that? Why don't you just say he's also on white bread? He's also eating his vegetables.
And if he is on marijuana, what are they worried about? That he's going to be dangerously mellow?
Yes. Yes. So he goes on. He's got. I know for a fact who was really armed. The cop who shot a jaywalking suspect. That might be the guy who was really armed. Okay, Ben Stein, though, he wasn't done. He wants us to remember who the real victim of modern-day lynchings are. Warning, not who you suspect. So the guy brings up Eric Holder's name. Ready? Here he goes. He goes, watch.
Eric Holder doing what he has done.
That's Ben right. Did Ben Stein just come when he mentioned Eric Holder? Listen, I swear
Eric Holder doing what he has done. How do you spell that, by the way? The third.
Does that not sound like he's got a rope around his neck and he's doing a little audio?
Well, you know what exactly that was? That was Sideshow Bob getting hit in the head by a rake on Simpsons.
Yes.
By the way, no one who is a member of the Nixon administration gets to criticize any attorney general ever again.
That's such a great point.
Here we go.
Autopsy, going down there saying this is personal. How on earth does a person get a fair trial when the top law enforcement officer in the country makes these remarks?
Yeah, he's afraid that the cop is not going to get a fair trial in Ferguson, Missouri. That's what this guy's away. So watch what Ben Stein says.
Well, he doesn't, and of course they don't want him to get a fair trial. They're not looking for a fair trial. They're looking for a lynching jury, and it's a very sad state of affairs.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
What a good use of language, Ben Stein.
So what he's saying, Robert, is that the authorities in Ferguson, Missouri, are slanting the case in favor of Michael Brown, not the cop. Ignore everything you've seen. Ignore it not all. Ben Stein is here to let you know that the system is being rigged in favor against the cop. That's what's happening.
Can I point out that if what he said was true, and if they do get an actual lynching jury who ultimately decide that cop should be lynched, at least that cop got a trial.
Yes.
Michael Brown is not dead.
Yes. Yes. Well, he goes on, Frank. Listen to how bad it gets. Wait.
I mean, it used to be, there was a time, even in my youth, because I'm a lot older than you, when lynchings of African Americans were not that incredibly rare.
Yes, and you know who allowed those lynchings to happen? The local police.
Yeah. Now the lynchings are the police, and it's just an...
He's saying that now the police are the ones being lynched. Oh, yeah. You know, you remember all those stories about all those African Americans lynching the cops? You know those stories, right?
Yeah. We all know the story of the Scottsboro cops.
Yeah. Yes, police are now lynched. You know all those, remember all those blacks lynched? I never heard of something like that. This is what Ben, and the guy's agreeing with him like as if this is common knowledge or something.
Outrage. And by the way, notice that in both this case and in Trayvon Martin's case, it's the very large so-called victim attacking a policeman who winds up dead. I mean, if they don't just...
Did you hear what he said about Trayvon and this
What?
guy? It's the large so-called victim. He called Trayvon and Michael Brown so-called victims. You know how I know they're victims? Because they're so-called victims because they're so-called for being dead.
Yes.
They're dead. That's how you know they're the victim. George Zimmerman's still alive. This cop in Ferguson, still alive. No injuries. That's how you know who's the victim. You racist piece of garbage, Ben Stein.
And by the way, George Zimmerman applying for a job on the Ferguson police force because he knows there's an opening coming up.
There is an opening coming up. For Ben Stein, our country is making progress because instead of African Americans being murdered in lynchings, they're being murdered by law enforcement officers.
Yes.
So that's progress.
God, Ben Stein's such a
For Ben Stein. That is unbelievable.
So Ben Stein's
And that does not disqualify Ben Stein from public life. That Paula Dean had to apologize, not Ben Stein.
No.
Let's remember that. Paula Dean, who has no power or influence, had to apologize. Here we go. Here's this guy. He brings in the so-called victim, Trayvon Martin. The kid had an iced tea. This is Ben Stein.
He
ladies
also
and
had
gentlemen.
Skittles. I mean, let's
Oh, that's
be
right.
fair.
I forgot. Yeah.
Although, let's be honest, Paula Deen probably did kill more black people with her food than.